All right, you heard that? Recording now in progress. So everyone be on your best behavior now. All right, well, welcome to Set High. This is exciting to have such a large group. This is, I think, another indication that we might be on the other side of COVID here. So it's exciting to have this many people in person. Last year we had a great turnout, but I think 95% of them were on Zoom. So the purpose of this is to kind of help you guys feel a little bit better about what the next school year is going to look like. Hopefully get rid of some of the anxieties that students might have about entering into ninth grade at SET. Help talk to you about schedules, talk to you about kind of the things that you can look forward to at SET. And mostly to answer questions. So if you guys have questions about the process, about what it's like to start at high school, and more specifically what it's like to start at SET. So this is the time for that. So I'm Neil McCurdy. I'm the principal and executive director of Set High. Miss Geis over here is our brand new assistant principal. Super excited that she's taking over. We've been doing a lot of planning this year, and she's going to be an incredible teammate. And yeah, so she's going to introduce herself. I'm just like doing a little pre-introduction. So anyway, so I'm really excited. We've got a couple of parents in here who are current parents who already know Miss Geis, and anytime, and just so you know, the assistant principal who's leaving is like probably the most popular assistant principal ever in any school. And so there's obviously a lot of unease when he announced retirement. And the cool thing is that when I announced that Ms. Geis was going to be the assistant principal to our staff, there was like standing ovation. When I announced it to the students, standing ovation. So we've got the perfect person to be filling in for in those very large shoes. So why don't you just say a few words about what you're excited about, and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, good morning again, everybody. This is awesome. I didn't know what to expect and how many parents and next family members would be here today, but it's an honor for me to be here. Dr. McCurdy's so right. I mean, Mr. McClendon is an incredible human being, let alone what he was able to do on our campus. So there's no filling his shoes, really. I mean, he has been such an incredible mentor to me. I didn't know that all along. He's kind of sneaky, all along he was kind of grooming me for this day when he would retire and move on to his next journey. He didn't let me know that he was planning all of this, but then Dr. McCurdy pulled me into his office last year, and he proposed this opportunity. And to be honest with you, my first thing was like, nope. That's crazy. But I mean, this was never something that was necessarily on my list as a goal for me. I love teaching. I love being in the classroom. It's what is my passion and my whole heart. So I love that. So the idea of being an administrator, knowing only a fraction of all the things they have to do, I was like, why would I want to do that? That doesn't sound like a good idea. But here the opportunity is, and I'm really grateful for it. I'm grateful that Dr. McCurdy and Mr. McClendon thought that I could do the job. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not going to be perfect. But I will tell you that I love this school. I've loved this school since the very first day I stepped foot on this campus. I've gotten to have an interesting journey. I started out as a long-term sub for a teacher. Then I started to sub for all the teachers here. I was kind of the super sub. Then I started teaching one leadership class. And then for the past 6 years, I've been teaching full-time leadership and what we call our strength of mind and body. So I was good with that journey, but now getting the opportunity, not many teachers get that. Not many teachers get that opportunity from the administration to step into that role. And thankfully, I'm at a school that they always want us to grow and learn and figure out what is our next step, even the teachers, the staff here. So it's an honor. I can't wait. I'm definitely nervous. But I started off like 100% nervous and 0% confident. Then that started to change, and now I'm more confident than nervous, but that nervousness is still there. But just know that I'm here and I can't wait for y'all to be a part of our family. It's a beautiful school to be a part of, and I couldn't ask for anything more for my life. I've had incredible support in my life from my mom. And when I come here, it feels that same way. I feel supported, I feel loved, I feel challenged, and it's all because of Dr. McCurdy and Mr. McLennan and what they provided for me. So I'm grateful to all of you for being here, and I can't wait to work with all of you and be a part of this one big team. So thank you all for being here today, seriously.
All right, so that was the right choice. So I'm gonna jump right into looking at the schedule. So let me try to figure out what the best way. I love having the photos here so you guys can look at photos, but I also need to show you stuff. So trying to figure out, I guess if I share. Oh, you need to share. Actually, no, you need to.
Right, you're gonna make you the host again?
I guess so. Then, yeah, just make me the host again.
Okay.
Actually, no, just turn on sharing for me. I'm not worried about anyone else hijacking our screen here.
While you're all waiting, I just gotta say, Miss Geis from San Diego Teacher of the Year.
Under charges.
Well, in this case, I will also add from the last set PA meeting, you got a standing ovation from all the existing parents too.
Oh,
So full circle.
thank you, Gary. Yeah.
So if you click on share screen, then there's a
Okay.
down the bottom.
Yeah.
And then you can say allow everyone to share. It's funny that Zoom bombing seems to no longer be a thing.
I did, I can share it at time.
That's fine, yeah. No, so you still gotta say. All right, well, while she's figuring it out, we'll talk. So one of the main reasons for me not to want Ms. Geis to be assistant principal is that one of the things that we do at SET is we have a leadership class that all ninth graders take. And so for the last 5 years, she's been doing this, and we've always called it the Geis effect. And so we knew that if all ninth graders have Ms. Geis, then we knew that we were going to be good for the rest of the 4 years because the Geis effect would take place. And so I was super nervous about losing that. And so one of the things that we did to figure this out is, so we've got 65 incoming freshmen or so, maybe 70. And so that's 3 classes. Each of our class sizes is 25. And so we needed to somehow have Ms. Geis teach 3 classes, but still be assistant principal. And because we wanted to make sure that she interacted with every one of the ninth graders. And so what we decided to do is Ms. Geis is going to be teaching her leadership class in a seminar style. And so we've split the ninth grade class into 2. And so on the odd days, Ms. Geis will be teaching a leadership seminar. And on the even days, and I'm just making up odd and even, but just, every other day. On the even days, they'll do PE with Mr. Snow. And so this way, and it's normally our classes are only 1 semester, but this is going to be a whole year. So she'll have the ninth graders for the entire year, every other day. So we think this is a really good way to still maintain that Geis effect. And then it's also kind of cool that there's been a number of things. So what you'll discover about us at SET is that we're constantly trying to innovate and figure out ways to solve the problems that we have. And so this is going to really, really help us also kind of solidify the class, that ninth grade class next year, because yes, they're going to be doing split in half, but occasionally, potentially as often as every Friday, we're going to have all of the ninth graders together. and with Ms. Geis and Mr. Snow co-teaching. And so we think this is going to be a really good way to kind of solidify that class. My daughter is a current ninth grader, I guess current 10th grader, I can now say. And she's there's still ninth graders that she doesn't know, which is surprising to me in a small school like this. How is it possible that we could have that fracturing happening? And so this is going to be a really, really good way to solve that problem. One of the other things that we're doing that's going to help solve some of the challenges that we have in the ninth grade is math tracking winds up in every school. It winds up destroying the culture of schools. And so we've, it's tough because you want to be able to support students at the right math level, but then if that winds up dictating the rest of the schedule, then that can cause downstream complications. And so this year, this coming year, we're going to have all of the ninth grade math classes happening during first and second period. And we've made sure that there's no critical classes that are opposite in the schedule during that first and second period. And so now we can easily move students between any one of those three math classes based off of their current math ability. So not what some tests at the start of the school year told us, but how they're actually doing. We can easily move the students. So we're teaching kids at the right level for math. And since that's only during first and second period, that means that the rest of the schedule, so 3, 4, and 5, can be completely randomized. And so we don't have that math tracking winding up affecting the rest of the schedule. So, two, pretty cool things that I think are really, really going to change the experience with the ninth graders. They're going to have some pretty significant long-term benefits. So I'm excited about that. Am I able to share now? Okay. Oh, I've got somebody in the waiting room. Just remind me to check the waiting room every once in a while.
Okay.
So I'm going to share that screen. So it might be a disaster for those of you who are at home because we've got video and stuff playing on that screen. So sorry about that. And then let me pull up. So I'm going to pull up the freshman class schedule. So basically what we have, let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it. So basically what we have is we've got 3 different groups of students. But now we don't really have 3 groups anymore because the math is totally fluid. And so, but this is kind of the idea of what the schedule could potentially look like for you coming in on your first day of school. So we've got 3 Algebra 1 classes. One of them is a fast-paced Algebra 1/Geometry combo class. We always get students who come in and they're like, hey, wait, we already did Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and so we're ready for geometry. There's no reason to jump into geometry at the start of the school year because that fast-paced Algebra 1 geometry class is going to wind up getting the student geometry by the end of their 9th grade anyway. So it winds up being just kind of a, depending on the abilities of the students in there. Mr. Odegaard teaches it as kind of like a fun, advanced seminar a fun advanced class where going deeper into topics and things like that. So don't be scared off by saying, oh, this is Algebra 1, this is going to be boring. We try really hard to not have it be that. So first and second period, so it's either going to be Algebra 1 or an elective. Let me scroll down a little bit so you can see the last one. So one group's going to have Algebra 1 second period, the other is going to have, or 2 of them are going to have Algebra 1 second period, and one group is going to have Algebra 1 first period. And there's electives, so no core classes that are opposite those classes. So if they need to switch from first to second period math, it's easy to do so. That third period is going to be the leadership PE combo class, where it's on the AB schedule. Fourth period in fifth grade now, this is where it's gonna kind of depend on just a random sorting of the students. And so we're gonna make this be random so that we actually get a nice mix of students in these other classes. Know that we're a 4x4 block schedule. We've got 5 periods, but if anyone's familiar with 4x4 block schedule, basically what that means is that you take one set of classes in the fall and another set of classes in the spring. So it's 2 kind of years that happen in that 1 year. And so if a student doesn't have English 9 in the first semester, they will definitely have it in the second semester. So don't worry about that. If you're like, wait, why is it that they're, shouldn't they need a history class or a science class or an English class? They're going to get it in the second semester if they don't have it in the first semester. So, so basically the kind of the normal classes that our ninth graders take. Obviously you need a math class. Obviously you need a English 9 class. You're going to need a science class. So we teach earth science to our ninth graders. And then some of our students get global studies and some don't. And so that's just the way that the schedule works with our teaching staff. And so I think probably the thing that I can help put most students and parents at ease on is that at SET, it is really, really, really easy to graduate. So do not worry about whether or not you're on track to graduate. As long as you're passing your classes, you're going to graduate. One of the dirty little secrets of high school is that there's not a lot of high school classes that students need to take. And so what winds up happening is schools intentionally slow down the students so that they can make sure that they're making it take 4 years. One of our challenges has always been, because we're so flexible with our scheduling, is that we can, students can be finished with their high school classes as early as they're, halfway through their junior year. And so then the question became, okay, why are they spending a 4th year with us? And there was always this challenge because the kids were like, well, I'm done. Why am I still in high school? And the parents were like, no, I'm supposed to have 4 years of high school with you. I don't want you going off to college yet. And so there's that tension. And so the way that we finally solved this is by offering a bunch of college classes in those junior and senior years. And so now we've got students who are, still part of our community, part of our campus. They're still living at home with mom and dad, still getting the support that teenagers need from their parents and from their teachers, but able to take college classes if they want. For the students who don't want to do college classes, the other thing that we do at SET is we have passion projects. And so as 9th graders, you guys will be, sorry, I keep saying 9th graders, but there's probably some non-9th graders in this room, so I apologize if I'm being too 9th grade centric, but the bulk of our incoming students are 9th graders, so I apologize for that. So our what was I talking? Oh, passion projects, thank you. So the passion projects, as underclass students, I'm trying to make my language be less gendered, underclass persons. There's 1 day per week for about an hour that students work on passion projects. And so early on, that feels like not nearly enough. Actually, early on, it feels like, well, what am I supposed to do during this time? But when the students get to the end of 9th grade and in the 10th grade, it's like, oh, shoot, I want more time to be working on my passion projects, because that's what's actually really fun about being at a school like SET, is that you get to work on things that you really want to work on instead of having to do the things that the teachers want you to work on. By 11th and 12th grade, those passion projects are now something that can take up the bulk of the day. So if a student doesn't want to be taking basic college classes, then they can have 1 or 2 periods where they're just working on their passion project. And we do allow that, support that, and encourage it. So anyway, bottom line, do not worry about whether or not your child is going to be graduating and on track to graduate. Please don't be, pushing to like only core classes. Want to get all the core classes out of the way, because then by the time they get to be juniors and seniors, the students like, why am I here? I've already finished all my core classes. And that's not anything that I think any of us wants. And it's not, we've rarely seen, had it be successful where a student has graduated early and then gone on to do the things that they should be able to do. So maybe they've gone to college and they've been okay, but they haven't thrived as much as we know they would have had they actually had their full 4 years of high school. Just the maturity level isn't quite there. The one exception is for the students who turn 18 when they're juniors. So one of the challenges that we at high school have to deal with is when a student gets held back in elementary school, it winds up having really serious consequences in high school, because no 18-year-old wants to be on campus with a bunch of 14-year-olds. So if we do graduate students early, it's usually because of that. They're just age-wise, they're ready to move on. All right. So any questions about the schedule kind of stuff? Have I put you guys at least a little bit at ease? I think what I'm basically asking you is to trust the process. So as long as your student is doing well and passing classes, no worries at all about them graduating.
How would individual math placement work?
So initially, it's going to be you or your parent suggesting to us whether or not you're somebody who likes to work really hard at math and wants to cram in a whole year's worth of math in one semester. So it has less to do with ability and more to do with like how committed are you to wanting to do extra work. That parents tend to know their students really well. And so usually that gets us 90% of the way there. In the first week of school, we'll actually do a math placement test, and that's how we'll know whether that first guess was actually right. Okay, but we don't want to just totally upend all the schedules in that first week. So we do want your suggestion of where you think your child is, because that does help us get 90% of the way there. And then we'll just have a few students who move. And it's that first test. That's just a test. So that's, some people test really well, some don't test well. Some test well, but then wind up not doing any of the work. And so the fact that we can easily move students between the math classes is going to be really helpful this coming year. Yeah.
When do electives and like the schedule kind of get set?
So that's going to happen over the summer. So Ms. Heath will send you an email with the schedule. And there's usually she'll say, hey, you got 2 options here. Do you want one? So sometimes by that point, there might not be any options. That also, I guess, know this too. So we try to be as fair as possible with the scheduling. And so our seniors pick classes first, then the juniors, then the sophomores, and then the 9th graders. And so you're going to have a little bit less choice as 9th graders. And so sometimes it will be an elective that you get put into instead of being one that you actually wanted. But you will be super happy that that's the way we do it when you are a senior and now you get to take the classes that you want to take. So so just be patient. So yeah, so over the summer is when you'll see your schedules. Yeah.
How does English work? Is it the same for all the students?
Yeah, English is the same for all students. We do have a advanced English 9, just for students who want to push themselves a little bit more. The honors versions of things really start in the 10th grade, because that's what colleges look at for honors. So it's good to do it, to prepare yourself for 10th grade, but the colleges are not going to care whether somebody took advanced or non-advanced in 9th grade.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so for like my brother, he's coming in junior year.
Mhm.
Is the requirements from that the same like in public school? You have to do like, well, if you go in the regular public school, but not going to in grade.
Yeah.
The same thing.
Yeah, so most schools are trying to make sure that they are preparing students for admission to a UC or Cal State. And so the UC requires 3 years of math. And so that's, in some schools, that's now math 1, 2, and 3. For us, it's algebra, geometry, algebra 2 is the typical sequence. We've got students who so let's actually just talk about that a little bit. So a student who takes the algebra, and this is probably important for you to be thinking about, and students, you might want to, talk to your parents about this. If you wind up getting accelerated too quickly, then your math classes, when you are a junior and senior, can be math classes that you might not want. Because if you take algebra and geometry and you finish those in your ninth grade year, that means you're taking algebra 2 in your 10th grade year. And we require 3 years of math. So meaning not 3 years of math, but 3 full calendar years of math. So the students have to take math in their 11th grade year as well. And so occasionally we wind up with a student who's been doing okay. They don't really like math, but they've been doing okay. And then they're like, what? I have to take pre-calc? And so then they start worrying about that. So this year we do have a stats alternative for that group. But really, if you're accelerating quickly, then you're taking pre-calc and calculus in 11th grade. And if you're an engineer, then that means that you should be going on and taking a college math class your senior year, because you don't want to have a whole gap there where you're not doing math. So just be aware that if you accelerate too quickly and you're not really excited about math, then now you're on the back end, you're like, okay, well, I have to keep doing more and more advanced math classes. And that might not be comfortable for you.
There's someone on Zoom with a hand raised.
Go ahead and speak. You can just unmute yourself. Who is it?
Avery?
Avery? Avery, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes. So I have a question. This is actually Avery and Austin's father.
Okay.
We're on vacation in Texas. When will they be able to choose their classes? Well, because we return in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so this will all happen. So Miss Heath will come up with a proposed schedule and then just do it via email. So you don't have to come in person to do that. Nobody's going to be choosing their classes today.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, no
Perfect.
problem.
Thank you.
Planner, what's the first day of school?
Uh,
For this game in San Diego, user site.
So the question for those online who might have not been able to hear it, so August 21st is the first day of school. So let's talk about that, just so there's no surprises. San Diego Unified is working on trying to have school end in May for various reasons. And so they're pushing everyone else to do the same. And so for the next, I haven't figured out if they've already done 2, but everything's eventually going to be moved up 3 weeks. And so, so this year we have moved up 1 week. Next year, we're going to move up another week. I think that's probably where we're going to stop. We used to start a week before San Diego Unified. And so I think that's probably why we're off a little bit. So it's probably only going to be 2 years where we're moving up by a week. We get 2 weeks off for spring break, which is different from other schools, which is really nice. And so before we used to start school early, and we'd always tell people, it's like, hey, we're starting early, but we get 2 weeks off. I think we're going to be ending a bit late, but we get 2 weeks off. That's probably how it's going to wind up being. Yeah.
She took Spanish already for the first year. Is she then able to go into Spanish too?
Yeah, that's typically how it works. You might want to, well, if Spanish 2 is too difficult, then you might want to redo Spanish 1. So, I mean, ultimately, it's just the goal is to get, well, ideally, if you're trying to get into a 4-year university, you want to have 3 years of Spanish. And there'll be plenty of opportunities to get those 3 years of Spanish in the 4 years that she's here. Because those are, again, semester-long classes, so there's 8 opportunities to take, 2 more Spanishes. So, yeah.
Can I just say something real quick about
Yeah.
scheduling?
Yeah.
So my priority will be scheduling non-ninth graders first. So that's what I'll be starting with. So if you have a student who is not in ninth grade, if you can take the initiative and send me a transcript, that would be excellent, because then that will inform me how to schedule them. I do request queuing files from schools, but most schools, unlike us, they just all go away during the summer. So a lot of times I won't get those files until we start school. So that's key. And then for ninth graders, you'll come next. And if you have a ninth grader who took an Algebra 1 class or a Spanish, a foreign language class, I will need the transcript for that too. So bear that in mind. Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Aside from the passion project, which are obviously one of, is that considered an elective?
So no, that's, so interestingly, the passion projects are not required. They're not graded. And all of those are intentional because if we did those things, then they would not be passion projects.
Can you talk a little bit about what the selection of electives are, just to kind of see?
Yeah, let me pull up the master schedule. So one of the things that's cool about us is that, one of the words that I use when I describe our school is we are elective first. And so we actually have a rich array of electives. Oh, sorry, that was not.
We had a question in the chat about what if the student is fluent in Spanish, can you speak about other foreign language options?
Yeah, so Spanish is the only language that we offer here on campus. We do have a Spanish lit class that our native Spanish speakers enjoy. And that's kind of a dual both Spanish and English happening at the same time. Some students are reading the book in English and some are reading the book in Spanish. So that's kind of a fun class for the native Spanish speakers. And then also know that with at Mesa College, any language can be taken at Mesa. And so we've had students take Japanese, Mandarin, and ASL. And so those, if you take a foreign, so be careful with this. I always hesitate to tell this to incoming ninth graders, because then they wind up saying, hey, I'm gonna not take Spanish because I want to take French instead. And the classes at Mesa College are really, really hard, the language classes. So just to give you an indication of how difficult they are, one semester of a foreign language class in college counts for 2 years of high school language. And so if somebody goes in without knowing any French and thinks that they're going to take a French Mesa class, they're probably going to be in a world of hurt. So just be warned. There are other options, but you want to wait until you're mature enough to be able to handle the workload, and but be careful waiting, because now maybe you're going to be behind on trying to take your Spanish if your other plan wound up not working out good. So let's take a look at the master schedule here. So a couple things that I want to point out, just the electives. So we've got debunking Disney class, mythology and religion, graphic novels, making beats. So that's a music class. We've got a regular guitar class as well. Let me scroll down to see the other ones. Boxing, biotech, forensics, guitar, digital art. So we've got a whole bunch of art classes. So drawing and crafting creations, those are always super popular classes. I happen to be a computer scientist, so I teach a computer science class, and we have green engineering and robotics. Wellness is the new class that we're doing this year. And so these change every semester. One of the things that we talk about passion at our school, the teachers are also super passionate about the things they do, and we let them choose the electives that they want to teach. So that's why we wind up with a class like debunking Disney. That's an English teacher who's like, wow, I want to, like, how cool would it be for us to actually, see what's going on with these Disney stories, and can we ruin everyone's childhood? And
I always tell Miss London that, I'm like, you know what? You teaching this class, you're ruining it for me. I don't think that's it. But she tells me in response, well, that's how you know you're a real lover of Disney. If you know the backstories of the stories prior to what they made and you still love Disney, then you're a true fan. I was like, okay, TJ, my bad.
so this year, so the year that just finished, she was teaching a Lord of the Rings class. And before that, and by the way, that was student choice. So the students are the ones who petitioned. And so she realized like, okay, I've got a bunch of kids who want to learn this. What a fantastic class to teach. She loves Lord of the Rings. But before she was scheduled to teach Lord of the Rings, the name of the class that we're playing with, and we never actually put this on the schedule, and I can't remember what the topic was. Yeah, it was called Destroying Your Childhood. And so it wasn't Disney. What was it?
More like classic, like
Fairy tales?
Bedtime type stories or maybe other movies kind of thing, like, gonna basically tear those apart and.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so our teachers teach to their passions. We've got a biology teacher who teaches space science. That boxing class, by the way, is taught by a math teacher. Making beats is taught by a math teacher. So we give them an opportunity to teach something that they truly love. Not that they don't love the subject they already are teaching, obviously, but give them something extra. Yeah.
So do you accept like, for example, French? Are there other places that you can go to take French courses that are authorized for electives or?
So the thing to be a little bit careful of, so you want to make sure that it's WASC accredited and UC A to G are the two big things. So there are classes, do you remember UCSD, what's that called? That's the one that,
Extension.
UCSD extension.
no, it's not that, it's where
Oh, this is Scout.
UC Scout.
This is Scout.
So UC Scout does have classes. But I think they're gonna be virtual and online, and so that's not necessarily a way to learn a language, so.
Lost and what?
UC A to G. So that's something that you'll get used to hearing in high school. So UC, meaning the University of California. University of California has a number of kinds of courses that are required, and they're in the categories of A through G. And so G's are electives and A is probably English and A is history. Really? They start with history?
I know.
That's weird. Okay. I would have thought English and math would be first, but my bias.
I have a question. Some of the unique classes you have, like the and stuff,
Yeah.
does that count as an English credit or is that just an elective?
So for UC A to G, sometimes it winds up getting put into the G elective category. Sometimes it gets put into the English elective. We're still going to require English 9, 10, 11, and 12. You can't take those in place. So these are usually the students who just really love writing, they really love reading, and they just want to take something extra.
Would that be the same with things like forensics and biotech? Some of those things, or would those?
So you
I'm
can't,
trying to figure out what's an elective and what is an option.
yeah. Yeah, so there's not really many ones where we allow a replacement. So I'll just say it real fast. So English is easy, 9 through 12. Those are all required classes. In the science world, the ones that the UC A to G really cares about is biology, physics, and chemistry. And so biotech is going to be something that you can't take without first taking biology. So that's now somebody who's showing an interest above and beyond the regular science track. In the history world, it's world history, US history, and Gov Econ. And so when you start to realize that there's a lot of these, so far, the only one that was 4 years was English 9 through 12, right? Everything else is 3 years. And so that's why schools are intentionally slowing down kids, because most of what they want is just 3 years. So 3 years of history, 3 years of math, 3 years of science. And so it winds up being pretty easy to meet the UC A to G requirements well before you get to your senior year. So
But there are elective, you have to have elective.
you have to have a certain number of electives as well. Yeah,
There's no alternatives to the physics, chemistry, and biology.
correct. Yeah. Yeah, so in special circumstances, there's room for negotiation, but the track that is the normal track for getting the full Sat High diploma, it would be a biology, physics, and chemistry. Any other questions about? Yeah.
Is there a fall break, like between Labor Day and Thanksgiving?
So we have a Thanksgiving break.
Before that, is there? Some schools usually do like a week or two during October or something.
No, so we don't have anything there. So the kind of the big holidays, other than the national holidays, and there's random days off just because we just to have everybody maintain their sanity. We have some days sprinkled around. So the major things to think about are Thanksgiving, which is a week. Winter break is 2 weeks, and then spring break is 2 weeks. Yeah. And we don't do, so I think some of the North County schools, they do that snow week, or ski week or something like that. So we have like 2 days off, then we don't do a full week. Anything else about schedule? Let me pull up the master calendar just so you guys can get a glimpse of that. And we'll send all this stuff out.
This is also something that they can see on the website as well, right? Nothing pretty.
Yeah.
Once it's up for the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first day of school, we can see that August 21st. And then the blue days are the holidays. You can see we have a few days just kind of sprinkled here and there, but the big ones. So you got your Thanksgiving break, your winter break. And then scrolling down, last week of March, first week of April is the spring break. And then last day of school is the 14th, which is also going to be graduation. So that won't be a real last day of school. That'll be a graduation celebration.
What is the pink?
I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a.
There's a little. Oh, retreats. Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. So, let me actually first introduce the set PA. Are you guys ready for this, or?
As ready as we're gonna be.
Okay, so first, before they come up, let me just introduce them. So the set PA is kind of got established 2 years ago, and last year, and we've been trying to rebuild things after COVID, like most schools. And this last year, it has been the most amazing group of parents who've we had a gala that was really well attended and raised a crazy amount of money. We've had picnics. They've completely like just gone above and beyond in terms of supporting the staff with lunches and things like that. And so really encourage you to be a part of this phenomenal group of parents. We try really hard to be as transparent as possible as a school, and high school is kind of this weird world where your students are going to start pushing you away and not want you to be doing as much. And so if you're used to elementary school where parents are in the classroom and doing a whole bunch of stuff, but this doesn't happen in high school. Because there's no way your kid would come to school if you were there. Yeah, so my daughter is always here. So anyway, the way to participate is through this FPA. So let me let them introduce themselves.
So we're only gonna talk to you for a minute or two. Honestly, a lot of what we were gonna talk about, Neil just shared, so. Yeah, you took all our. Yeah, that's what he wanted to do. So my name's Eric Strom. I have two now seniors here. And we've been here, I'll try to do talk to everybody. My family loves this school. We walked into this school not really knowing what we were going to get into. Our version of this was completely virtual. My kids didn't know anyone here. I didn't know anyone here. My wife didn't know anyone here. Probably you're feeling a lot what you guys are doing right now. I know Neil and Ms. Geis are going to do a lot this year to really get your kids to know each other. A lot of what we're doing with the set PA is trying to build that community outside of this, whether it's with some of the social events that we're putting together or just communicating. So actually, let me go back because I got ahead of myself. One of the things I did want to share that is completely of script. There was a lot of conversations that I've been hearing over the last 20 minutes or so about kind of exceptions to the schedule and how do I get my kid into this space. Those questions are coming from the spot that the Stroms have been in. We're always the ones that sort of push the limits. And we were well versed in hearing very hard no's from any school that we asked for anything special. And so I was the one that sort of, every time we built up or an ask, I built a whole plan for it, and then usually email number 1 and email number 2, and then demanding a meeting. And what I will say about this school is they default to yes, always. And they're trying to make it work. I mean, when Carrie runs into scheduling problems because some kids want to be in a different class, the staff ends up meeting and working it out and finding a way to get the kids into the right classes that they want. If you're wanting your kids to be in to test out and be in different math courses, I can't tell you how easy the process was. It was we asked and it was done 3 days later. So we've been really happy. I wanted to share that. The reason I'm here is because I love this school community, and there's a good group of parents that have gotten together over the last couple of years to really make some changes in the parent community and make things good. I'm blithering on and plowing over some of the things Jen wanted to share. So Jen, you go.
You're great, Eric.
Yeah.
Great. I'm Jen Karnoff, also a parent here. I have a daughter who graduated last year and a son who is going to be a junior. We moved from across the country a couple of years ago, so my daughter's first year at school was her senior year, and that's always a difficult time to start a new school. We actually picked the school and fell in love with the school before we found a place to live in San Diego, and kind of like faced everything around that. And it was the best decision ever. So my daughter was thrilled here. She made some great friends. She made some amazing connections with teachers, and she was so prepared for college. I think just because she was so comfortable talking with her professors and teachers, like that's something that she learned here. And so that's just been fabulous. Let's see about the SET PA. I was going to tell you a little bit about the history, but Dr. McCurdy shared that. So it was an organization that I guess started up just before COVID hit. And so when I came on board, we were just starting to get out of COVID. We were kind of the tail end of COVID. And there was actually 2 parents whose children had graduated the year prior who actually stayed around to keep the organization running. And there were maybe like 5 of us that met on a regular basis to try and just keep it alive. So this year was really the first year that the Parent Association has really come out of that. And it's been a really exciting year. As Dr. McCurdy said, that we put together some picnics. We try to do one in the fall to help parents get to know one another and connect from different areas, because I know we're from all over the place. So I'm in Chula Vista. He's up in North County, a little bit further north.
Scripps, yeah.
Yeah, so there are parents from everywhere. So it's nice to be able to connect and try to meet each other and see about arranging carpools and all that kind of stuff. So we have that social component that we try to help build that parent community. We also adore the teachers here and all the staff here and try really hard to thank them in every way that we can. So we do try to put together different teacher appreciation events, try to make sure that the teachers are included and paid for all of the different events that we do. We had a gala, I guess, or it wasn't quite a gala, it was a soiree.
Yes. Gala was not.
Nobody wants to dress up anymore. We can barely put on pants. And so it's just, okay.
It was at a brewery.
It was at a brewery. And it was a great event. Let's see what else. I had to write things down that I was going to say because my memory is terrible.
So I think I'll just expand on that a little more. I mean, our number one component is to piggyback on their efforts to get the student community together and know each other and get the whole community together. So different from a lot of the organizations that you may have been involved with. in the middle school or elementary school level, our big component is so social. If we're having the exhibition night here, we're gonna bring in food so that everybody can eat and chat and get things together. It's those kinds of efforts. Our picnics are down in the park over here, and it's the whole school community. We hold it right after school, so the kids come down and get in line to get barbecue, and the parents were grilling. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to be. What I'll say is our second component, which is secondary to this, is we want to raise money. We want to raise money for the school, and we want to fund projects that don't fit into the regular school budget. This is the first year, I think, in the history where we generate a little bit of money, and so we're working with the school administration of where we want to spend that. But this next year, we're hoping to continue that a lot. We're doing easy things, so your kids are not gonna be asked to sell cookie dough or anything.
You'll be asked to give money.
Yeah, you'll be asked to. So that's
And
really
we also need people, yes.
And so that is the big thing. You've heard kind of the history of where we came from. This set PA, it's a great group of people, but we are not evenly distributed over the years because of how we're created, and we have a lot of concern that it's gonna die. And so we openly want to recruit. The reason Jen and I are here this morning is to get you involved. So Neil will be sending out a little link with a survey on it. Please fill it out. It isn't a firm commitment. It's really just saying, I want to help. I want to know what's going on. Fill out that information. We'll keep you informed of things over the summer. And we want you to be involved. You guys are the next generation of this school, and we want you involved.
Yep.
If you guys have any questions, we'll be sending you guys email, so you'll know where to find us, and Neil can track us down too. What's that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I'll show you this last thing. So it's it's 10:57 now. I was imagining that this would be about an hour. And so be thinking about any final questions that you have. I imagine that there's probably millions of questions. And I'm happy to stay late and to answer all of your questions before you leave today. But let's just be thinking about questions that you think that might be good for the whole group. And we'll wind up ending this probably about I'll probably go for about 5 more minutes. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that's a good question. What is the success rate for freshmen that are coming in? How many of them, since you've been here, stay and then graduate and then go to college or get, a scholarship? What is, from what you've seen, what is that percentage you would say? 35, 75?
So the reason I'm pausing is I don't know what happens to the ones who don't stay with us. Right. And so I can tell you that our graduation rate is, so graduation rates. So the graduation rate should be 100%. And I don't really want to go on this tangent and be complaining about the way that the education system works in California. We're all in, and we want to do whatever is in the best interest of the student and to help the student. And so sometimes, so a good example, we had a student who was not quite ready to graduate. We could have pushed her out last year. But she wound up going to another school where they gave her no credit. And so she stayed an extra year with us. And so we did the right thing by giving her her real senior year. And that, by state of California statistics, means that she was a dropout because she graduated in 5 years instead of 4 years. And so we did the right thing. She got her college degree. She was going off, or sorry, she got her high school diploma. She's going off to college. She's going to be just fine in life, but she is statistically considered a dropout. And we've got some others, kids who are in that situation. So in terms of like the legitimate dropouts, I think our graduation rate is probably like, probably officially like in the 92%, somewhere around there. I think realistically it's in the 97%, 98%. So graduating's not the challenge. Sometimes students and parents make the decision of, like, okay, well, is my kid going to be prepared for college? And so the answer to that question is for sure. So we are UC A to G. We're way beyond UC A to G. So you're going to have all the classes that you need in order to be successful in college at our school. And I would argue that you're probably actually have a better chance of getting into better colleges going to a small school like ours than you do going to a school where you're with, 300 kids who are all taking AP classes and everyone's got a 4.6, and so how are you actually going to differentiate yourself in that school? The students who, I think the way that I always answer the question is what schools are the kids going to? They're going to the schools that they want to go to. And so we've had examples of valedictorians going to community college because that was the most appropriate thing for them. They made the decision, the family decision, that they didn't want to spend as much money. So they're still going to get their four-year degree, but they're just going the community college route first. Our valedictorian this year happens to be going to UCSD, but she and UCSD was the only school that she applied to because her family circumstance was that she had to live in San Diego. And so she got waitlisted at UCSD originally and then eventually got in, but she was totally fine with going to community college and then transferring to UCSD afterwards. And so I think the way that I like to look at it is it's whatever is the appropriate placement for the student is what we push for and what we try to do. I do not want to be pushing kids into situations where they're not going to be successful or they're not going to be financially successful or they're going to be in a huge amount of debt. So we don't worry about those things. So that hurts us a little bit because, maybe we have more students going to community college than four-year universities. But I think you've got a perfect example here of
I just wanted to add to your question. I was sitting in your place a few years ago, asking the questions. And I have a daughter that is a couple years older than my now seniors here. It went to the big, well-regarded public high school in San Diego. I believe that my boys are far more prepared for college than my daughter was because of the opportunities that they had here. So the statistics are hard to look at. It's really hard for me, and to the point that I tracked down and interviewed them independently. And I came up with the same answer that you just provided, which was, I think the kids went where they wanted. And we're certainly not doing it. Appreciate that.
No. All right, I'm going to skip the last thing that I was going to do because I don't think we need to do it. So I'll just do a field of few questions. Yeah.
I'm just sort of curious, in the school my daughter went to, started out pretty large, small school, but pretty large class. And by the time we got to the end, it was like less than 2 handfuls. Yeah. So I'm wondering, and this was a school where they started out in her class around 34. And I'm just wondering, how that is here when you start off in 9th grade. Because it affects friendships and a whole lot of group dynamics and everything else. And I'm just sort of curious as to how that is here. You start out with 30 in your class, because it's a smaller school,
Yeah.
but when you end up pretty close to 30 by the time you get ready to leave for high school.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So so kind of our goal, for this current building is to have 65 students in every grade. We just graduated 51, last night. And that was the last group when we switched from having 50 per grade to 65 per grade. And so one of the things so attrition is going to happen everywhere. And I don't know if there's any military families in here, but it drives me crazy. We've got the amazing kids who then get transferred and they leave us after we've done all the hard work in those 9th and 10th grade years. And so attrition does happen. But I'll get to you, sir. So attrition does happen. But I think one of the things that's different about our school is because of the flexibility of our curriculum, we're able to bring in new students. And so perfect example, we just had a student this girl was so amazing. She only spent 2 months with us. So her father was working at UCSD on sabbatical and came to San Diego and called us up and said, hey, my daughter's a junior and she needs the school to go to. Can you guys help her out? And so my first instinct was like, no, come on, what is this? This isn't doing anything for us. We've got somebody who's going to be coming in for 2 months and potentially going to blow up the school and then leave right as we just finally, teach her what the culture is of our school. And luckily I said yes, because this girl was absolutely amazing. And she was part of our school for 2 months and has a boyfriend and went to prom and she's like probably her best year ever in her childhood was the 2 months that she was here at our school. So we're able to handle bringing in students at every grade level. So a lot of reasons why those schools have those crazy attritions is because their system is so specific that there's no way that they can bring somebody in midstream. We can bring in and we can supplement. So the 11th grade class is going to be at 65 next year. But there was probably attrition that knocked off about 10 of those students, but we'll be back to the 65. Yeah. And new blood, new friends, new people coming to school is exciting and interesting. Like that kid who now has a girlfriend from, I don't know what country she's from. Germany. So like we had no idea that he was gonna be dating somebody and his heart's broken now, but we had two good months. Sorry.
I have a question in regards to the military.
Yeah.
She may be able to do it, there are gonna be 2 more solid years here.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect the transferability of the classes to
She'll be,
California or any other state?
yeah, she'll be totally fine. And you're probably aware that the military has all kinds of, schools have to follow certain rules with military students and everybody who's military is supposed to be allowed to graduate with the California minimum, which I don't recommend because that's like almost no classes. But that I know that's a challenge for military families when they're moving from school to school. All of our classes, they're all UC A to G approved, which means that they're going to be transferable to any school that you go to. So she won't have any trouble. But I hate to hear that she's leaving, so fix that.
Could you expand a little bit more on the culture that, my students, the experience here? What years? Like what happens if they're struggling? What happens, they're, doing really great at something,
Yeah.
I read up on the website, it's really intriguing to me. Could you kind of expand that and what you do to kind of preserve that in face of, common?
Yeah. Yeah, no, so I love the question, because one of the things that we do is we are very good at personalizing things for supporters. And that personalization works for students who are struggling, and it also works for students who are going way beyond where they're supposed to be. And I think we do it at everything that we do is intentional. So the scheduling is the students pick their classes, and we've it's a pain for us to allow the students to pick their classes because that means that we have to be trying to guess how many students are going to want physics and how many are going to need chemistry. And so I'm a computer scientist, and so I've got lots of tools that help me do all the predicting that I need to do. And then we also want to make sure that it's fair. And we also need to make sure that we don't have a kid who signs up for a bunch of electives and is never actually taking any core classes. And so we have a bunch of ways to confirm and to make sure that even though we're giving that choice, that we're a choice, but we're catching to make sure that the right things are happening. So I think there's a huge amount of just the size of the school means that we know everyone. So we're able to catch any challenges that students wind up having. And the teachers know all the students, and so there's a lot of supports at both the low end and the high end. And my personal view is that this is the right way to teach. And I don't think this is the school for a particular kind of student. I think this is the school for every student. And I really hope that San Diego is going to start to notice that and have more schools like this, because that super hyper personalized approach is valuable for everybody.
Can I add to that, Dr. McCurdy?
Yeah.
So, one of the advantages for me stepping into the administrative role is that I've been teaching here. And so from a teacher standpoint, I can tell you, in addition to what Dr. McCurdy was saying about teachers being able to teach what they're passionate about, when someone's standing in front of the room and they don't love what they're teaching, that really affects the students in the class. The beautiful thing about our school is that every teacher loves what they teach. So that comes off to the students, and you have students who maybe wouldn't have enjoyed a subject or have struggled with a subject, and that ends up being the biggest class that they see growth in. In addition to that, every teacher, this is on purpose from Dr. McCurdy's hiring. I've been able to have some conversations with him on Fridays over the last, I don't know, I would say 7 or 8 weeks, but we called it Nikki and Me time. It was our little fake podcast. And he was just telling me that on purpose, he hires teachers that are different from each other to make sure that every student, no matter what they're involved in, what they love, what they're passionate about, has an adult on campus that is their person, right? So that's on purpose. And like you said, it's very intentional. We as teachers, we know that students don't care what we know until they know that we care, right? And we go from that base, from that standpoint, making sure we're building rapport with students, making sure that they know they can come to us. Every teacher on this campus has what we call a help desk, which means that they are either available one of the days of the week before school, during lunch, or after school. But if you ask any of the teachers, if you say, I need help, can you help me? Regardless of whether that's their help desk time or not, you're most likely gonna get a yes unless there's something that they have to do, right, during that time. So I think all of those things also add to what we see as our culture here. Everybody's welcome, come as you are, and we love to have you. That's kind of just our motto and how we do things here.
Yeah, just to add to that. So when I was first got into education, my dream education job was to be a one-room schoolhouse and teach all subjects, because I love everything. I love English, I love history. And I was like, well, how cool would that be, where I'm just like, I get to teach all these subjects and then get to teach the kids exactly what they want to hear and what I think is important. And I've very quickly learned that I don't have, that there's so many different kinds of students out there with so many different kinds of interests. And we need to have a diverse staff that is going to make sure that we call them whisperers. So every kid, there's a whisperer for that student on this campus. And so if I don't have a good working relationship with a student, I know that I can send that student to Ms. Geis or Mr. Odegaard or Mr. Montello. And every one of us is so different and unique that allows for that to happen. Sorry, let me get this question first and I'll get you.
Is there board and then is it from the class?
Yeah, so I wish I should put the pictures back up, so there's, lots of, tons of events that happen on our campus, and so all the dances happen, we've got ASB, we've got, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls volleyball, track and field,
Cross country.
cross country. Next year, because we're growing a little bit, next year we're opening up a bunch of JV teams, because we used to say, hey, if you want to play a sport, this is such a cool school because you can play a sport, but our girls volleyball team is actually really, really good now. And so unfortunately, you're probably not going to make varsity girls volleyball, but we're going to have JV because we need to make sure that we're getting our younger students prepared so that when these girls all graduate, that we'll have a team still.
I'm the coach of the girls' basketball team, so, yeah.
One more quick question. I don't to be redundant, but I just wanted to make sure I had an understanding about class size. Is it
25.
25? Okay.
Yeah, 25 with most classes have 2 staff members in them, so super low teacher-student ratio.
There was a question.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to comment, I came a couple months ago and we took a tour and, I can't remember the lady's name, but it was great, she was great. Can you share with everybody here? I think there's like a therapist here, right? There's 2 counselors. I was trying to remember some stuff that made me feel like it was the right fit. And then also, some kids have trouble asking questions, right? There's like a special room where kids could go in there and ask one-on-one instead of asking in a group.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember some of the stuff that.
I mean, mostly it's, I think the students are gonna feel comfortable seeing any of us, so. So I've got students in my office all the time, not because they're in trouble. Miss Geis is gonna have kids in her class all the time, or in her office all the time. So yeah, there's plenty of staff on campus who are gonna be able to support students. Yeah.
I just wanted to tack on this question about sports, is it during the day, is it after school?
Yeah, so these are CIF sports, so we're just like every other high school. We're a smaller school, so we're not expected to compete against the schools that have 2,000 students, and so there's a different CIF division for smaller schools. But yeah, no, it's legit sports with refs and playoffs and yeah, after school, yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, because we have, our track and field coach and our cross-country coach, is not a person on campus, so depending on his schedule and all of that, but we always make sure we have, like a parent meeting up front so that we give you all the information, but practices will definitely be after.
So that's actually my question for after school. Again, I work full time, so like is there something for kids to hang out after school? The parents can pick them up since there's not a lot of.
So we guarantee, so we've got help desk after school. So there's always a staff member here providing some kind of extra support for students. So the normal school hours are 8:30 to 3:30, and then we guarantee that we're going to have somebody here until 4:45 every day. Yeah. Yeah.
2 questions. One is on your teacher turnover,
Mhm.
what that looks like, and then do kids have any type of advisor or advisory groups?
So teacher turnover, so I was actually thinking that this year was gonna be the one where we were actually potentially gonna see a lot of teachers leave, because we have, I think just about all of our teachers are probably in 5 or 6 years now at our school. And for any of you who are adults, you know that every 5 years, it's like, start getting itchy feet and it's time to go do something different. So even with the itchy feet, we only have 1 teacher leaving this year, and we have McClendon who's retiring. And so yeah, so our teacher turnover is super low, which is really good. And I think the main reason is because the culture here is such a phenomenal culture to work at. So we just had a nice little staff celebration after graduation last night, and we're all, yeah, it's a really good group of people.
Well, to add to that, the anecdote I always tell is when we were in a little bit of financial trouble a couple years ago, we had to do an across the board 7% pay cut, and we didn't do this in the teacher. So, gives you an idea.
Yeah. So we're way past that now, so we're actually in a really good financial place right now. Second question was.
Advisory.
Oh, advisory, yes, we do have advisory. One of the challenges that we have is trying to balance how we balance the things that we need to do, want to do, and things that we want to support. So we have advisory time that kind of fights with that flex time, which is when the passion time happens. And so students are demanding more passion time. We're like, oh, we need some more advisory time. And so there's a little bit of tension there. But yes, we do have advisors. The advisors have a cohort that they have for that year. They don't move with them. The advisories stay pretty consistent going across the 4 years, but we have grade level advisories. Just because with the help that students need at the various levels of college planning, we want to make sure that we've got staff who actually know what they're doing, and can help them at those levels. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, when did you find out about the freshman year retreats? That like you're both being a little bit?
Yeah, so we've got, so for us as a staff, so we just finished the current school year, and so now we start the planning for next year. For sure, there's going to be a 9th grade retreat, and that winds up being a kind of a sleep-in at the school. And so we make sure that the other students are not here the next day, and so the 9th graders kind of get the run of the school. So that'll for sure happen. I think it's actually on the calendar. Yeah, 24th.
That first week, those two pink
Yeah, 24th, 25th.
are the retreat days.
Yeah, the 24th, the evening into the 25th until about noon is when the retreat is. All right, so if you've got private questions, then I'm happy to stick around. Otherwise, I think we'll wrap this up and you guys all get on your way. Thank you. Myself and